Okay, and from this research and all this, let's say, business archaeology,
yes,
there's some findings came out, and one of them, I think the major one, it's the contextual intelligence.
Yes.
What is contextual intelligence, and what you can say about it?
So for contextual intelligence, what we meant there is we decided to take these 1,000 and then place them in the context in which they operated. So what was the decade in which they founded their company or became the CEO? And then we looked at 6 variables. We looked at how government intervention, we looked at technology, we looked at labor, demographic shifts, global events, and social mores.
But you named those 6 factors before to guide the research, or they appeared along the research?
That's a very good question.
Which came first?
What came first, the 6 factors or?
You started to see a repetition.
I think we actually came up with the 6 factors first, because we said we were trying to understand what impacts the landscape for business.
As a methodology.
And so we went back and forth. And if I were to do the research now, I might add the role of the consumer. Okay. That's as a 7th one. We didn't, So now looking back, if I were to say, did we have the right list of 6? Yes, but I would have probably added that one. And then we got a sense of the way in which people dealt with the context. They either created something new, they maximized something, or they turned something around. And that's where we developed this notion of contextual intelligence, that businesses and business leaders that were successful for long periods of time were able to understand, have this what we call periphery vision, understand what was going on in the context, and how was those factors impacting their business. So not all 6 factors impact an industry in the same level, but which ones are most important, and what does that mean for how I should lead? So that was the first aspect of contextual intelligence, is just being aware and understanding the context, understanding what's going on. The second is then having the personal characteristics to do one of these 3 things that I talked about, either to shape the context or be shaped by it by creating something new, optimizing a business model, or turning something around. And then the final aspect of contextual intelligence is really adaptability to change. So how do you change your style, your leadership approach, the strategy of your company as the context changes? If you keep operating in the same way and things change in the context, you're setting yourself up for disaster. So how did leaders navigate that context? And so that's what we looked at, and that came out of the research. We weren't exactly sure what was going to come out of the research, and that's where what we indicated as the key to success for many of these.
Was there any surprise during the research? I'll say, oh, I never imagined that, look at this.
The surprise to me was the contextual intelligence wasn't overly surprising. What was surprising is, when you think about great business leaders, you often think about these larger than life figures who, had this charisma, this hero worship type of thing. And when you do the research and you dive deep into their history, these are all flawed individuals. They're not saints. If we were to hold them up to a moral standard, they may or may not measure that. And so one of the surprises for me was how average in many ways these leaders were, how they failed several times before they were successful. We often just talk about their success, but the trials and tribulations they had to get to where they are. And so when you take a step back, these are not necessarily people, and I would always debate with Nithin because he said, Tony, don't fall in love with these leaders. They're flawed individuals. And so don't
talk to them like this.
And so for me, that was a surprise, is sort of the ordinariness of some of their lives and what they did. So it didn't seem so far out of reach.